So I'm going to talk about Class 6 from October 21st, Fostering Safe Classrooms for Religious Minority Students and Dismantling Ableism in the Classroom. I really appreciated both groups that presented. I really liked the quote that the first group started with on Fostering Safe Classrooms for Religious Minority Students, on saying intercultural competence is not just about tolerance, but recognizing who is absent from the room. And how interreligious compliance strengthens social cohesion. That's something I haven't really thought about much, but that is now the main thing I'm thinking about for my research. How like learning teaching students to value different perspectives and different community members is what cultivates empathy. They talked about role-playing, writing, and peer discussion to help students understand their biases, which is so cool, and how this helps students move from ethnocentrism to developing ethno-relativism, which is a new term for me. It means multiple differences and how it's not a deficiency, and how safe classrooms allow for disagreement, and it's important for teachers to be facilitators and not preachers. And we're learning about diversity versus learning, or we're learning through diversity versus learning just about diversity as something separate. I thought that tied really well into the talk about ableism, especially the readings by Killarney, Miller, Nussbaum, Pearson, Brown, towards a disability-centered, culturally sustaining pedagogies in teacher education. It's really about both. So I had the quote how Joyce King defines disconscious racism as a form of racism that tacitly accepts dominant white norms and privileges. And it's not the absence of consciousness, but rather an evasiveness or avoidance of the discussion of race. So with both race and religious minorities and disability, students are not, in schools, typically it's seen as something else. So disability is seen is erased another quote on page 3 is, when disability is erased and racism is erased, it's disability gets relegated to a separate status, and schools are thought of as a special education issue, and that's ties into how respecting students with religious or who are part of religious minorities and racialized students are, their issues are seen as separate and not affecting all students. But all of these intersections are important to be talking about actively in classrooms, and erasing them is making all of our students feel like they don't belong, or relegated to a different, that they need to be relegated to a different space, and their struggles don't matter, or we don't see them at all. So I thought it was really interesting how in the reading they say how they're looking at disconscious ableism through the lens of teacher candidates, noting how they remain complicit in a system that pathologizes, separates, and ranks students with disabilities. And I think that is really important to remember, and even reflecting on my own practicum, I think of myself as someone who wants to do the best I can to make all students feel comfortable and like they belong. But there was definitely, because of the struggles with resources in schools, the really neurodiverse students in the class, it was hard, or yeah, it was easy to just think immediately like, oh, that's a nuisance. Like, I wish that they could just be like the other students doing this thing, instead of how can, recognizing and valuing all the students' diverse learning abilities, but also strengths. And I think that will be a really important thing for me to remember going forward in my next practicum, and also with teaching, especially, as a neurodiverse person. I think it's easy for me to see students who are acting in ways that I did as a child, which can be, disruptive, or just on a really different level from other people, and feeling like annoyed, and the temptation to like just pawn them off essentially on the special, like the extra help that comes into the classroom, instead of meaningfully integrating them into the work that we're doing. And I guess instead of seeing it as like extra work, I need to remember that is the work. Like, that's, their learning is every bit as important as the other students' learning. So this reading in this class, it was a really big eye-opener for me, because I think in equity spaces and social justice education even, it's easy for disability to be seen as like something extra, because I guess it often intersects with poverty and racialization, and there's reasons for that. But it's so important for me to really reflect on why I think of students in particular ways, and how I'm assessing them and integrating their teachings into my lessons, and the care that I'm making sure that I'm giving them all the care and attention and love that they deserve, just as every child deserves in the classroom. So thank you.